If you're looking for a recommendation on something to watch during this pandemic, I highly recommend. There's a documentary called Salinger about J.D. Salinger on HBO, whatever platform, Max or HBO Go or HBO Now. And um, as just a fan of writers and writing and all of it, I'm fascinated by it. At one point during the documentary, they talk about when he enlisted into the army. So when he enlists into the army, he's dating a girl who is, I think, potentially 17 or 18, something like that. And while he's over in World War II, fighting the Battle of the Bulge, Normandy, D-Day, all these crazy, like, being there for a tremendously intense amount of time, his girlfriend, Una O'Neill, who was Eugene O'Neill, the famous playwright's daughter, that was his girlfriend, and during the war, she ends up marrying Charlie Chaplin, which is a crazy story in and of itself. So he's in the military. His girlfriend ends up marrying Charlie Chaplin. He goes through all of that insane stuff. Somehow he meets Hemingway in Paris. He has 6 chapters of Catcher in the Rye on him. Hemingway reads some of his writing and ends up, like, they develop a friendship. He stays in the war 299 days. They say anybody over 200 days is, like, legally insane. And he stayed another 199 more days. My question is to you is this. Sometimes, because I reread Catcher in the Rye recently, and when I was a kid, I read it, and it was really good, but I don't remember thinking it was like, it didn't capture me. And maybe it's because I'm not cynical at heart, I'm not really sure. But as an adult now, I've read it, and it's a different thing. I can see it now because I'm looking at a 17-year-old. Holden Caulfield is a 17-year-old kid. So I'm able to look at it from an adult's perspective, and I find it fascinating, and I find the writing, like, very clean, and he does this really nice job of creating mood and tone. But I don't read it and I'm just blown away by, like, how good the prose is, or how good the story is, or how, like, I guess the character is probably the most interesting part of Catcher in the Rye. To me, what is interesting, and the question I have for the audience, he goes through all of that stuff in war. He meets Hemingway. He, at the end of the war, marries a German Nazi, brings her back to America. In a very short amount of time, they get a divorce. She ends up going back. He ends up being part of some program, like through, I don't think it was the OSS, but some sort of like CIA operative type thing, where they were hunting Nazis post the war. So this is all crazy things that add to his lore as a person, as the story of J.D. Salinger, who then becomes this recluse and doesn't want anything to do with that. But I guess that's my question is, he wrote something that captured people's attention. Was it just the writing, or was he just such an interesting guy that people were attracted to what he was writing?